Hey people, how you doing? Nate Raymond in Japan, coming at you. Got my shirt on that, of course, my dad would love, because my dad used to love jazz, which means I love jazz. And he recently died, but he was living in New Orleans, and of course I had to go there when it was time. And anyway, it's like when I traveled there as New Orleans, and I'm living in Japan, through blockchain, I would have had the opportunity to actually, and I've done this mentally, and that's the thing, is that through blockchain, we can take other places that we go and people we meet and organize a network and then present ourselves in the place we live as a network and create exchange that's peer-to-peer by introducing people to each other that have similar relations and creating, promoting them so that they become the personal brand, directly doing the marketing, doing the selling. But actually, we're not really actively selling. We sell digitally, but our marketing has to do with just us doing what we love, being passionate about it, doing video and talking about it and getting people who are liking that because they're similarly passionate about it, and creating that connection into our blockchains, and sales happen automatically. So it's just like, this is what I'm bringing you, behind whatever it is, you think I'm bringing you. And the thing is that, okay, you take a river that's flowing, right? And we put a generator in that river. And now suddenly that generator, that river that was flowing anyway, is now generating a power, okay? So that's the thing like we're doing. We're every day active in our lives, doing our best, trying our hardest. But that in itself is a flow that we could be taking more advantage of. And you see this because actually a lot of the time, probably your efforts are directed at trying to get new people, okay? So, but actually what you're doing in your passionate thing can be the thing that you could use to get new people, and it's a more honest expression about what you're about versus your words. So this genuine appeal that actually we could be giving is what we call actually an organic marketing campaign. Now, companies, right, are also looking to, to demonstrate their brand, okay? And rather than them have a gimmicky sales pitch that they're paying people to give, the fact that you are somebody that interacts with the community in your passion and develops now how you're creating value for, because actually when we go to the company, the way that we really do interact with that company is through the company people, okay? So the person who's working at that company, rather than deal with data and figures, instead could be connecting with an actual person for an actual conversation. So what I'm actually advocating is that we're more human. And the thing about now is that when we get into our relationship with machines, sometimes the machine is winning. And by that I mean is that you're forced to think on a three-dimensional level as far as, I gotta take the copy, the printer, the get the things out. So, okay, the advertisements, okay? But I'm here to tell you actually that the way digital automation can work is that instead of you catering to the machine caters to us, which means that when we're in our passion, we're not in a 3D, we're in a dream. We're in the best of all worlds, and that was what we call 5D consciousness, okay? 5D perception, whatever, fifth dimensional, okay, abundance, okay? That's what we're talking about. 3D, we have our stresses because what we see in 3D, our eyes before us, is all the inadequacies, right? In all the scarcities, the things we don't have, right? But when we get to 5D, then we're up already at the end goal of how we're feeling abundant, okay? And what we're doing at a 3D is we're trying to bring the 3D into the 5D, and obviously there is some reason why 3D is not 5D. So if we're looking at, the problems, it's like glass half empty, glass half full. But instead of us with the glass half empty with the 3D and why the 3D is not 5D and what's standing in the way, we're glass half full, how our projection of the 3D and what we see about it, see, because when we like something, we see past what's bad. That's what's the difference between your friends and someone else looking at your friends, is that we have our friends, we have our passionate group, and we see past people we love. And not only that, we don't just see past, but we naturally do see who this person really is. And it's not physical, it goes beyond physical. And the thing is that our eyes do not perceive what is not physical, but it does happen in the way we feel. So we need to give people the ability to see what they can't see. And one way we're doing that also is through this blockchain. So anyway, look, what I'm telling you is that right now I'm writing this white paper. Now, if you don't know what a white paper is, a white paper drives decisions for many companies. It's the most powerful form of decision driving, whatever. But your white paper, it was called because in the government, they just took a white paper and wrote on it. It's a simple description of what essentially your proposal is. So look, I'm calling myself Japan English Exchange, okay? But when you hear exchange, what do you think of exchange? You think of, yes, exchange. But if you go online and you see what exchange is, they're talking about money, exchanging money. Now, exchanging money is a physical thing that we do in the economy, okay? But what I'm talking about is also other forms of exchange. Like, for example, they call an exchange program, okay? What is an exchange program? Have you ever been on an exchange program? I have. I've lived in Japan as an exchange student. I even went to Spain on a college exchange. Now, obviously, when you're in that context, you know what is what. However, the word exchange still persists. So it's also true that exchange can happen not just in money. Now, another part of my experience is that I used to be involved in consulting, okay? Now, this was consulting where I would meet English speakers from a Japanese company and introduce them to a foreign company doing business in Japan, and this was a win-win. Now, this idea of me introducing people, okay? And it's a win-win because a foreign company in Japan benefits greatly from an engineer who's from Japan, from a Japanese company that already has a network that they've been using for selling products, but now can do it as a basically a manager, okay? They can be in charge of the Japanese company, they can get a higher salary, they can be in charge of their decisions. But someone from a Japanese company, just so you know, for example, they have a seniority system, so you're not going to be a manager. A 35-year-old is not going to be there until he's 45. And when he gets a promotion, it's just going to be more stress. And up until that point, it's going to be in a Japanese company, which means that you're going to have meetings every day. And culturally, Japanese meetings, they don't really go anywhere. That's not like the result. It's like Japanese culture. Like in a foreign company, if we have a meeting, they'll be for a specific reason, and at the end, we will come to a specific decision. Japanese companies, it's not like that. It's just something that you're going to eventually experience when we really get into it. But what I'm saying is that it's a win-win, right? Because also Japanese companies, if anybody wants to make a decision, everybody needs to make a decision and they have to put their personal stamp. So that if anything happens that's a mistake, you can't blame one person. But at a foreign company, a person can just move at the speed they want. And sure, if they make a mistake that they're going to be taking all the blame, but if you get the success, you're going to have, you take all the credit too. So again, you can see a little bit where there's a give and take in exchange between Japanese people and American people is because our mindsets are totally opposite. And we have to recognize, or at least I recognize going between Japan and America, is that in America, they have a certain way of thinking, and in Japan, they have a certain way of thinking. So when you have differences, we then put them as extremes, okay? They're extremes now because we've created a vision where we're looking at these two and we're saying, what's the difference in Japanese situations? What's the difference in American situations? And how are we bridging the gap? But more importantly, how are we not bridging the gap to bring it down, but how are we creating a hybrid that involves the best of both worlds and is a win-win mutual benefit? So, boom, this is also the exchange that I'm thinking about. So, my white paper is now adding how we're going to add these sharing exchanges in addition to the exchanges that are only dealing with money, and use our social interaction as research and development that now allows us to raise the money, you know, because again, when we also get to that fifth dimensional level, the abundance manifests itself in different ways. And I'm talking, yes, it can manifest in money ways, but it can manifest in non-money ways, okay? And you know what, when we introduce people to each other, when we go to each other's countries, now that's an exchange. So if we have an exchange and you look up online and there's an exchange, and one exchange is just a money exchange and one exchange is just an exchange program, but an exchange that can do both and sees exchange as energy first and says whatever kind of thing then you need, right? To me, that's going to be superior, okay? It's going to include both, right? So boom, this is like the communication I'm giving to you and what actually I'm gonna be putting in my white paper. So hey, I'm making this white paper now. Me talking to you about it first is gonna help me, but eventually I want you to read this white paper, and then we're gonna use this white paper so even me and even you can use my white paper, and you could go to people that you see doing cryptocurrency or in monetary exchange. But your personal communication has to do with finding people that you're going to collaborate with so you can actually have an exchange partner. So it goes beyond just what you think about it and your perception, but us actually doing it. And that is the real teacher, not school learning. And that's why you also see how we're upgrading education. And for people right now who are seeing any kind of scarcity, like they're going out, they're talking about, even if it's, you even look at the quarantine, okay? You look at people who have masks, you go there. Yes, if you're in public and you find ways to live your life in a way that's monitored, that people are controlled by, you're going to be controlled. But what I'm saying is that right now, okay, now let's say you have a Starbucks, it's in public. The public can use, right, their rules to say you must wear a mask. But if you have a private establishment where only members can, join, and in this private establishment we don't want to wear masks, right, that's where you have the ability to really, so what we need right now is like you and I collaborating is what we're doing that way. We're now going to change things so that we go from public to private, but it also allows us to exclusively share offers that we can't just share with anybody, because again, when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to entrepreneurship, there's some people who are dead set against hearing it. And my white paper is taking that into advantage too, is because the thing is like, yes, we have definite senses of words we hear, what turns us off, what we like, what we don't like. But the fact remains is that there's something we like. And if you can say something, even if what you're saying triggers someone, because it's not what you're saying, it's their representation of their emotional attachment to what you're saying. But you find out what they're emotionally attached to, that's great. And you're not lying, because what you're doing is you're just presenting it in a certain way. And it's sort of like a way of looking at preferred pronouns, but preferred pronouns was something that was hoisted upon us. Now we're talking about not a societal collective that you're catering to, but you and how you're going to be offering the value to that collective so that you get the credit, and you're creating your own sphere of domain that you will be at the top of the dominant hierarchy of, and you're going to find a whole new way of existence, because that's what we do. So anyway, I'm glad I made this video. It's crazy, but look, let's talk more. One-on-one conversation, DM me. Let's talk. Japan English Exchange. This is a real deal. I'm going to be also doing some travel writing. I'm traveling so that I could do some research. And, you know, it's like as I'm doing that, I'm meeting people, and that adds to the exchange. So, look, it's killing two birds with one stone, killing three birds with one stone. I want you to think the way I'm thinking so that you can do what I'm doing, but do it in your own way, because that is the way people are. We do what works for us. And you have your strengths and I have my strengths, and I'm glad they're not the same, because when we come together, it's the best of both worlds. This always happens with our differences, and this is going to be like a truly United States, not one part of the country that hates the other part because of their emotional attachments, right? If you look at it outside yourself, but look at it from a government, like an ambassador's point of view. What is an ambassador? An ambassador is a freelance, basically, representative of government. It's a liaison, right? These are French words that are in the lexicon. So look, we do study language. The masculine and feminine of Romance languages has been lost in English. So we do need the difference of looking at things, okay? Anyway, all right, people. Nate Raymond, let's talk soon. Love you. Peace.